Hey students, I'm going to run through quickly some notes, and then after I go through these, I'm going to highlight a couple of the examples of the professional organizations that are in the notes that you need to know. And there's so many that I list, I'm not going to run through all of them just because it would take forever, and I'm going to let you a little bit to your own devices to search through the ones that you are most interested in for the assignments that go with this module. So one of the things that I like to highlight fairly early on in sport performance and physical education and fitness is the role of our professional associations. And the big thing, a lot of people want to know what they are and need to know about them is because they provide certification to practice, whether it's to coach, to provide personal training, to deliver nutrition information, to be a strength and conditioning coach, even to be a teacher. And so that's what we're going to run through here. So basically, it's important to know professional associations. Like I said, they give certifications, but as you see down here, that's the very last thing that I have listed here. So essentially, it's a collective professional group that shares a common goal or common purpose. Some professional associations are nonprofit. Actually, a lot of them, I would say, the main ones that we identify and use in our field. There are some that cross the border a little bit into for-profit, and then they're not necessarily considered a professional association. They're more of a company. But it's important to know that they provide these big three things: support for professionals that are members, so sometimes through grants, through scholarships, resources in terms of best practices, and then a lot of times they commission research, provide stats, and important information. A lot of the practitioner ones, well, it's really what I'm going to focus on here. They give how-tos, tips, ideas. They may even have affiliated other types of media like Facebook, Instagram, those types of things, YouTube channels that provide a ton of practical tips. And a couple of these, especially the ones I'm going to highlight, are also considered governing bodies that provide accreditation standards and, like I said earlier, certifications. So here's a few of the big ones that I have featured here. And just so you know, there are many more than this, but these are the main ones that our students typically tend to really, you just need to know what they are, essentially. So we've got the listing here, and then we're going to go through those. First one is for my physical education people, but even if you aren't going to be a physical educator, it's really important that you know that there is a partner organization in the U.S. that is essentially in charge of health education, school health ed, and physical education in terms of providing best practices and standards for children and educating them in physical activity. And so even for fitness people who really have an interest, or coaching people who have an interest in working with kids, they have some great resources that can help you. And there's some cross-membership benefits. So basically, they provide grant scholarship standards. They have this big national convention. They want to advance professional practice as opposed to stereotypical gym teacher or health teacher practice. They have various types of memberships. Their student membership is $50 annually, and the links that are here that you can look through in the notes are going to share a little bit more information about what you get. And then each state in the U.S. has their own version, state version of SHAPE. So it's the Society for Health and Physical Educators in Michigan. And so same type of thing, research, not quite as much as on the national end, but this is a really big important thing for all of you, is grants and scholarships. So this organization, provides scholarships for any student that is a student member of SHAPE Michigan that's studying physical education, kinesiology, exercise science, anything in the related area. And not many students apply for these scholarships. And so this could be a really good place for you to get a little bit of your funding paid for. They help present information and teaching practices essentially through their big state conference, which is every fall. This year it's in November, sometimes it's October. And they also have regional conferences that basically are workshops for teachers and for educators. Next, Michigan High School Athletic Association. A lot of you that are from Michigan are going to know MSHAA because you're an athlete and have to follow those guidelines. But the big thing here is when you flip to the coaching side of things, there's certifications that they have. Obviously, information about the sport itself, rules and updates. They have a CAPS program, which is Coaches Advancement Program. And that's ways that you can further or become higher up in your coaching experience and get professional development. And then for women who are coaches, they have a Women in Sports Leadership Foundation and organization and conference, which is really, really important because we still see some major disparities between the two genders in terms of representation in coaching and leadership roles by females, even though we know that we have approximately, give or take, of our athlete population at the high school level is going to be split between our genders. And there also can be scholarships for your athletes who are in high school. Next, this is one of what I call the big four in personal training and fitness. So NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, is one of the major certifying bodies for personal training. Corrective exercise is another big one. They do have some performance enhancement certifications too. They have several specialty certifications. So if you're looking for something that's going to be beyond just a personal trainer, that might certify you to work with a specific population and carve out a little bit of a niche, NASM might be a good fit for you. They do have some research connections through UNC Chapel Hill, where they will disseminate some of that research in a very practical way for their practitioners, and they also provide consultation services for professional development. Next, we have ACE, another one of the big four in personal training and in fitness. This is one that I'm a big advocate of, Dr. Moreno is a big advocate of, and it's not that one of the big four are better or worse than the other. This one just has a very applied focus. And from what we see of what's necessary and valuable in working with humans in personal training is making sure that the prep and the study that you do also prepares you to work with humans in a very applied sense. And so they have a few general certifications that are pretty common. So personal trainer, group fitness, they have a general umbrella group fitness instructor cert. And then they have a few additional ones, health coach, an advanced specialist, other continuation. They're adding more specialty ones too. They also have what I like, some consumer critical recommendations. And so they basically outsource consumer research on products and gimmicks that are out there in the fitness world. And they have researchers test them to basically debunk a lot of the commercialism that we see in fitness. So that's kind of interesting. They do outreach and they have some research, again, additional research that they commission. The big thing why I love ACE though is in terms of across the big four, they have some of the best resources for just trainers themselves, just to gather information. And they also have a section of information for clients, just for the everyday person to learn more about fitness. And so I think they have a pretty engaging website. And so they might be what I would say my favorite when it comes to just a personal training cert. There are a lot of other ones to check out. So in the personal training world, I don't consider these part of the big four, but it doesn't mean that they aren't worthy, aren't valuable. So they're all options. And if you are specifically looking for personal training, some of these are for profit, some are not. They may have different deals, different packages. And so especially if you're looking just to get something and looking for something that might have a special or might have a specific deal that you can afford, or might be more accessible in terms of the study materials, any of these really will work. All right. So like I said, not part of the big four, but still are accredited personal training organizations. There's a few job sites, I would say, that may be a little elitist with who they're looking for, what types of certifications that they want their trainers to have, and they may not include this list. And so that's why I usually say stick with the big four, but if you just need something and you're looking for something that might be a little bit of a lower cost, all of these are great options. The next one, this is the third one in the big four, and I put exercise science up here. It does have a certification. There's several certifications with it, but this is much more big on the actual professional association. This is a big one for sports medicine and especially exercise science. They do a lot of research. It tends to be a little bit more clinical, but what ACSM does do really well is they provide education and a lot of dissemination. That means spreading of what's best practice, evidence-based. They do have certifications. You can see the list there, but a lot of them tend to be a little bit more clinical. And these are ones that if you know you might be into more of the patient care world, working in a hospital as exercise specialist or in a PT clinic as a PT tech or exercise specialist there, the ACSM certifications might be the way to go for you. Next, this is the last one of the big four, and this is really the essential one that you need to know if you want to go into sport performance or strength and conditioning, really at any level, high school, private sector, college, or beyond professional. So the NSCA, the main certification is the first one that's listed here. It's the CSCS. That is considered the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist certification. That is essentially what you need to become a strength coach who's considered legitimate and credible, in addition to a bachelor's degree and experience, of course. You do need a bachelor's degree to be able to sign up for and take this exam. You have to be in your last semester, at least, of coursework, but to actually get the certification process, you have to have proof of graduation, so transcript. They have a couple others that are, you don't need to have your bachelor's degree for. This one is really unique and would definitely be a niche area that would set you apart. Certified Special Population Specialist. So that means you're going to be working with individuals with disabilities, whether it's cognitive, physical, pretty much across that spectrum of inclusive physical activity. Certified Personal Trainer, they also have one as well. And then the TSTAC. So that is Tactical Strength and Conditioning Specialist. So that means you're going to be facilitating workouts, training sessions for individuals in tactical lines of work. So that could be police, could be fire, SWAT, military even. And so I know all the branches of the U.S. military, they contract out strength and conditioning coaches to work with their members of the military, essentially on bases here in the U.S. and abroad. And they typically do require the CSCS and will really look for that TSAC specialist as well. If you are into sport, so all of our sport governing bodies need officials, and so NASO is one of the major sport officiating associations that we have in the U.S., and they provide legal support. So that means basically like insurance. Same thing with all of our other professional organizations, insurance to practice, certification in that sport, so to achieve various levels of being able to officiate in addition to experience. This is one of the things you're going to need. And also just advocacy for needs of officials. And officiating is another huge, huge area of need in our general profession. It's something that can be done as a side gig along any other type of work. And most sports are really hurting pretty bad for sport officials. And it's another area where we see a lot of lack of representation across gender, across race, and it's a lot of white men, basically, that are officials right now. And so that's an area where they're trying to do some outreach, and I should say older white males. And so trying to get younger populations and getting more racial and gender diversity into those roles.